Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. And it is Friday once again. And of course, here on the podcast every Friday, we bring you the FOMO Friday report, meaning that we don't want you to experience the fear of missing out because you're not listening to propaganda media anymore. And so we bring you the stories of the week that we think that you should probably know, or at least know a little bit about, right? And that way you don't experience FOMO. Well, from a series of articles from the Daily Wire comes this big bombshell of news, and it is really big. Here on the podcast for the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about how Tulsi Gabbard has brought forth some information about how Russiagate was all one big hoax, and how it was developed and weaponized for the purposes of taking out Donald Trump, and as we're seeing now, even for other reasons. And at the time, we said, and I got a lot of feedback saying, "Hey, this may be true. I just hope it leads to something." Well, it looks like it is blowing up. So here we go. The documents that indicate that Hillary Clinton approved a Russia collusion hoax against her rival Donald Trump during the 2016 presidential campaign were buried in a back room. This is what FBI Director Kash Patel said on Thursday. Now, he made the comment after the release of a newly declassified annex from former special counsel John Durham that discussed how the Obama-era FBI appeared to ignore intelligence that indicated Clinton's campaign, its supporters, or Russian disinformation fueled allegations of ties between Trump's 2016 campaign and Moscow in order to distract from the controversy over her unauthorized use of private email servers while serving as Secretary of State. Quote, "We uncovered this annex, along with thousands of other documents buried in a back room at the FBI," Patel said. And this is what he posted on X. He said, "It revealed a highly classified piece of the Durham report, evidence that the Clinton campaign plotted to frame President Trump and fabricate the Russia collusion hoax. We worked with Chairman Grassley and declassified the documents immediately. And now the American people can see the truth for themselves. The Russia hoax was a disgrace that President Trump and our country should have never been put through." Now, Senator Chuck Grassley, who is chairman of the Judiciary Committee and a lead Russiagate investigator, who pushed for the declassification of the annex, released the document on Thursday, and it said, quote, "This political weaponization has caused critical damage to our institutions and is one of the biggest political scandals and cover-ups in American history." Grassley said that the new Trump administration has a tremendous responsibility to the American people to fix the damage done and to do so with maximum speed and transparency. Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi has already indicated a new strike force tasked with evaluating the evidence relating to the Obama administration's efforts to drive the Russia collusion allegations in response to various documents the Trump administration has been releasing to the public, which, as findings as allegedly show, officials in the Obama administration manufactured and manipulated intelligence regarding Russia to undermine Trump. Now, the declassified annex, which still contains some redactions, spoke of how the FBI received information detailing a plan that Clinton purportedly approved to use firms to spread disinformation through media, expecting the Bureau to, quote, put more oil into the fire, unquote, and distract from her email scandal. Durham also wrote how it seemed the FBI dismissed the intelligence as not credible without any investigative steps actually having been taken to either corroborate or disprove the allegations. Now, former President Barack Obama and top national security veterans from the administration have pushed back on claims there's been a treasonous conspiracy. But the Trump administration has pledged to keep on digging into the matter. Now, this brings up some questions, of course, particularly when it comes to Durham and that type of thing. The newly declassified documents from the special counsel John Durham's report suggest the Obama-era FBI ignored intelligence that indicted Hillary Clinton's campaign. So the investigation, the Durham investigation, saw that there was some Obama-era FBI dealings. In other words, they got the information and then they decided not to do anything with it because it didn't fit their narrative. The disclosure of the annex, which still has some redactions, comes more than 2 years after Durham completed his investigation and heavily criticized the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane probe into alleged links between Trump's campaign and Russia. Now, Trump's second administration declassified the section as the president and the members of his team demanded accountability for what they deemed to be a Russia collusion hoax. One key section of the classified addendum to the Durham report says that, quote, FBI was fully alerted to the possibility that at least some of the information it was receiving about the Trump campaign might have its origin either with the Clinton campaign or its supporters, or alternatively, was the product of Russian disinformation. Despite this awareness, this is interesting, despite this awareness, the FBI appears to have dismissed the intelligence information as not credible without any investigative steps actually having been taken to either corroborate or disprove the allegations. So they just said, no, this is not true, and didn't even look into it. It's the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations. That's what they're supposed to do, investigate. Well, in 2020, when he served as director of national intelligence and now CIA director John Ratcliffe, unveiled documents that showed federal officials referred Clinton to the FBI for investigation after obtaining insight, as he put it, into a Russian intelligence analysis that alleged she approved a campaign plan to link Trump to Russia's hacking operations to distract from the controversy over her unauthorized use of a private email server while serving as Secretary of State. The annex in Durham's report says FBI personnel, including then Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, shared the intelligence, this is important, he shared the intelligence regarding the potential Clinton campaign plan with high-ranking career officials at the Department of Justice on March 31st of 2016, and affirmed that multiple high-ranking, as he put it, U.S. officials were apprised of the situation, including on August 3rd of 2016, and a briefing that they had then in the White House by CIA Director John Brennan to President Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, FBI Director Comey, among others. It says notes from Brennan show the CIA sent an investigative referral to the FBI in September of 2016 that included the purported Clinton campaign plan. One of the most heavily redacted parts of the annex says the CIA prepared a written assessment in 2017 on the veracity of the intelligence described in the referred memo. The CIA stated that it did not access that the above memoranda or the redacted hacked U.S. communications to be the product of Russian fabrication. Now, Durham testified to Congress in 2023 that agents of the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane team were not made aware of the intelligence. So he said to Congress that they were not made aware of that. And his report indicated that the Clinton plan intelligence could not have been that it could have been helpful to them if he had known about it. It would have been obviously helpful to his investigation. Now, the report pointed to the British ex-spy Christopher Steele's now discredited anti-Trump dossier, stemming from research funded by Clinton's campaign. So we already know that the dossier, the Steele dossier, was funded by the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee, and that the FBI was found to have improperly used to secure FISA surveillance warrants against one-time presidential campaign advisor Carter Page. And it also referred the unfounded secret back channel between the Trump organization and the Russia's Altif Bank that Clinton and her team promoted in the run-up to the 2016 election. She tried to say, oh, well, there's this, connection here with Trump and Russia. Of course, it wasn't true. She was the one that came up with that. Well, whether or not the Clinton plan intelligence was based on reliable or unreliable information, or was ultimately true or false, it should have prompted, and this is important, it should have prompted FBI personnel to immediately undertake an analysis of the information and to act with far greater care and caution when receiving and analyzing and relying upon materials of partisan origins, such as the Steele reports and the Alpha Bank allegations. This is what Durham's report said. And the report said that the FBI also should have disseminated the Clinton plan intelligence more widely among those responsible for the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, so that they could effectively incorporate it into their analysis and decision making and their representations to the OI attorneys and ultimately the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. So what is in there about Hillary Clinton? I guess is one of the big questions here, and that is that the newly declassified intelligence documents released on Thursday, they reveal that Hillary Clinton personally approved a campaign plan to smear then candidate Donald Trump with false Russian collusion claims to distract from her email scandal during the 2016 presidential race. You remember that was coming out, that she obviously did away with thousands of emails that she shouldn't have. And I mean, first of all, she was using a server that was unsecured that got hacked, that it wasn't the government server, and she and when that came out, then she just absolutely deleted all of these emails saying, well, they're just about my daughter's wedding and things like this. Yeah, sure, thousands of emails, right? Well, Special Counsel John Durham uncovered the information during his multi-year investigation into intelligence activities during the 2016 election. And the intelligence released Monday by Senator Chuck Grassley came from two memos obtained by Obama administration containing confidential conversations, get this, between members of the DNC and, you guessed it, George Soros Open Society Foundations before the 2016 election. According to the declassified files, Clinton personally, okay, I'm going to say that again, Clinton personally approved a plan proposed by her foreign policy advisor. Her foreign policy advisor's name is Julianne Smith, to smear Donald Trump by magnifying the scandal tied to the intrusion by the Russian special services in the pre-election process to benefit the Republican candidate. Smith was later appointed to serve as ambassador to NATO under President Joe Biden. So she got rewarded for this. One stunning email written by Open Society Foundations, that's the George Soros organization, and their senior vice president, Leonardo Bernardo. This memo is dated July 27th of 2016. Okay, this is before the election. It states this, quote, HRC, which is Hillary Clinton, approved Julia's, that's her aide, her idea about Trump and Russia hackers hampering U.S. elections. That should distract people. This is what they're saying. This is the quote. That should distract people from her own missing email, especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level, unquote. That's their own words. That's them describing why they're doing this. Another quote, the point is making the Russia play a U.S. domestic issue. This is what Bernardo continued to say. And she said, in the absence of direct evidence, CrowdStrike and Threat Connect will supply the media and GRU, that's Russia's foreign intelligence arm, will hopefully carry on and give more facts, unquote. So they're talking about who is going to disseminate this. The organizations that are going to go to the media. Again, we're talking about a propaganda media here that is designed to spread lies for Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party. Durham's team spoke with the analysts and the officers who assessed these emails that they were likely authentic. And the special counsel's team believed the emails apparently from Bernardo were a composite of emails hacked by Russian intelligence from the U.S. think tank. The Clinton campaign's plan included raising the theme of Putin's support for Trump and publishing public opinion to equate the Russian leader's influence campaign with an actual election infrastructure hacking. It also involved distributing the necessary information through the FBI-affiliated technical structures, in particular, the CrowdStrike and Threat Connect companies. From there, the information would then be disseminated through leading U.S. publications, according to other emails from Bernardo. The email predicted that the FBI would, quote, put more oil onto the fire, unquote, of the Russia collusion narrative, with Obama even considering shutting down the Bureau's investigation into Clinton's emails, according to the New York Post. So not only did he want to come up with this distraction from the Hillary emails, but and he knew it was all lies, but Obama also considered shutting down the investigation into Clinton's emails with all this distraction. Quote, Smith was, at minimum, playing a role in the Clinton campaign's efforts to tie Trump to Russia. This according to Durham. And this is what he concluded. And Chuck Grassley said in a statement that based on the Durham annex, the Obama FBI failed to adequately review and investigate intelligence reports showing the Clinton campaign may have been ginning up the fake Trump Russia narrative for Clinton's political gain, which was ultimately done through the Steele dossier and other means. The American people deserve the full, unfiltered truth about the Russian collusion hoax and the political abuse of our judicial system. This is what FBI Director Kash Patel stated. He said, one of the most shameful frauds ever perpetrated on the American public. The Russian collusion narrative, just it's been dominating the headlines for years, obviously during and especially during Trump's first administration. And it led to multiple investigations, including special counsel Robert Mueller's probe, which ultimately found no evidence of criminal conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia. But now we're starting to see, well, where did this lead then? Where did it then come from? If it was a lie, where did it come from? And now, because they found all of, there's thousands of documents in burn bags. They call them burn bags, which means that since it was sensitive information, classified information, when they want to get rid of it, they put them in these burn bags, and then they can go ahead and dispose of the evidence. These burn bags were in an annex that even the FBI didn't know about. And so, yeah, that's where it was supposed to go to die. Luckily, they've been found. Now, President Donald Trump just the other day suggested that he wasn't opposed to actually jailing Hillary Clinton for her role in the 2026 Russiagate conspiracy. The president's comments came during an appearance on the New York Post reporter Maria Devine's Podforce One podcast, and the president was responding to the declassified information, of course, on the Russiagate. And he said, we had Hillary Clinton down to whatever we wanted to do with her, Trump said, noting that he felt it was inappropriate to prosecute her. She's the wife of a president. She was a Secretary of State. We could have done a very big number. And I said, we don't want to do that, to be doing that. The concept of putting her in jail, indicting her, all the things that you have to do. He said that at the time he wanted to focus on the country. I said, no, we just won. We have to get back to, we want to heal. Trump said that he actually feels differently now. Can you imagine? He said, I was the one that killed it. And then they do the same thing to me, and I just want to be fair. He said, ultimately, it's up to Pam. That's Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. And what's interesting to me is that I think what you're going to see is that former President Barack Obama and his part in this, he will probably not be charged with anything if there are charges that come down because, well, I mean, he was still officially president at the time. But Hillary Clinton, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former FBI Director James Comey, and some of the others like that, you know what? They might just get charged in this. They might have to face justice on this. We'll have to see. Okay. We'll keep an eye on it. I know I spent a long time. I don't normally do this on FOMO Friday, spend this much time on one story, but man, this was a big one. So I had to bring it to you. But moving on, and this, some stories you hate to bring forward, and they're a little bit sad and things. This one's not great, but you need to know it. And it has to do with Christians being killed. More than 40 Christians in the Democratic Republic of the Congo over in Africa were killed by Islamic militants early Sunday morning, according to reports from multiple Christian organizations and the United Nations. The victims include at least 9 children. We're holding a prayer vigil as part of a summer holiday session in the early morning hours in the city of Kamanda, where they were attacked by the Allied Democratic Forces. It's a radical Islamic rebel group with ties to the Islamic State. And this was according to Aid to the Church in Need organization. Quote, the attack occurred at around 1 o'clock in the morning. The rebels entered the church and murdered a large number of children, both inside the church building and in the compound. A longtime missionary to Congo reported that. And he said the Islamic militants set fire to homes and shops in Commanda before fleeing. The terrorists were gone by the time the government forces arrived. According to the United Nations peacekeeping mission, 43 people were killed in the attack, including 19 women and 9 children, reported by the BBC. The Congolese military said that the insurgents used machetes in their attack, adding these terrorists have decided to take revenge on defenseless, peaceful populations to spread terror. The attack is yet another example of the extreme persecution faced by Christians at the hands of Islamic extremists in the Congo and other African nations. In February, 70 Christians were found beheaded in a church after they were attacked by militants with the Allied Democratic Forces. And last month, around 200 Christians in Nigeria were killed by jihadists who stormed a predominantly Catholic farming community and set fire to the homes. Christian persecution in Africa receives little to no coverage in the propaganda media and news outlets, despite the constant threats and violence faced by people of faith. According to the Christian group Open Doors, 355 Christians in the Congo were killed just last year, an increase from 261 the year before, to 2023. The Congo remains a completely volatile political landscape with factions and rebel groups fighting for control of multiple regions. And the fighting has resulted in more than 100,000 Congolese people getting displaced. And the United Nations reported this actually back in February. But let's conclude with a couple of really good news stories here, can we? The Trump administration is providing some really excellent news. The Trump administration rolled out a new guidance on Monday that makes it clear that federal workers are allowed to invite their coworkers to church and share their religious beliefs with them. The memo issued by Office of Personnel Management Director Scott Kupar, he seeks to ensure the protection of religious liberty for federal workers. It provides examples of permitting religious expression in the workplace and specifies that such conversations must remain respectful and not be disruptive. Okay, so those are the two caveats. But the guidance says that federal workers may engage in conversations regarding religious topics with fellow employees, including attempting to persuade others of the correctness of their own religious views, provided that such efforts are not harassing in nature. An example of this kind of religious expression would include one employee trying to persuade another to convert to their faith during a break, let's say. Federal employees are also free to direct their expressions of faith to members of the public at certain times. Examples given included like a park ranger leading a tour through a national park may join her tour in a prayer, let's say, and things like this. So anyway, there's some really cool things happening along those lines. Long overdue. You probably didn't even know that was a thing, right? But now they're able to do that. And lastly, and this may be, I don't know, maybe one of the biggest stories of the week. But I wanted to share it to you in the form of an opinion piece by Ben Shapiro. He says one of the biggest moves made in modern history in the regulatory state occurred this week. On Tuesday, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, moved to repeal the 2009 so-called endangerment finding for greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, this is great. The Clean Air Act, which was put into place in the 1970s, authorized the EPA to regulate pollutants like ozone and particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, and others that might endanger public health and welfare. But the EPA suggested under Barack Obama that the Clean Air Act could be used to regulate carbon emissions, which of course is insane, right? The Clean Air Act was meant to stop particulate matter, It was meant to stop the breakdown of the ozone layer. It was not meant to deal with carbon, and particularly carbon dioxide, which is a natural byproduct of breathing. Carbon dioxide is not a danger to human beings in the environment. You may not like what it does in terms of global climate change, if you believe in that kind of thing, but the idea that the EPA has authority under the Clean Air Act is just wrong. And if Congress wants to give the EPA that authority, then it certainly could, but it never did. Now the EPA is revoking the previous policy. And what does that mean? Well, it means something extraordinary for American economy, among other things. So, there's things such as a massive deregulatory environment. The alleged cost of regulating greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act amounts to roughly $54 billion per year. And that's a cost that exceeds $800 billion over the last decade. Well, Energy Secretary Chris Wright said that it's just been a huge entanglement into American life. Big brother climate regulations from the government that don't do anything meaningful for global greenhouse gas emissions. They don't change any health outcomes for Americans, but they massively grow the government. He says, we've just driven up the price of energy and reduced choice to American customers without meaningful moving global greenhouse gas emissions at all. And when I talk to activists or politicians about it, they're not even that concerned about it. And they say they don't act as if their real goal is to incrementally reduce greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. The real goal is for the government and for them, a small number of people, to decide what's appropriate behavior for all Americans. And he said, we just need some common sense back around energy and climate change. That's where the Trump administration is headed across the administration, not just in Zeldin or, he said in himself, but everyone in the administration. We just want Americans to have a government that follows basic common sense. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So anyway, that's really big news because, these regulations have just, they have done so much damage, even right down to like the auto industry, where they have to do certain things and make certain changes to their cars, and come out with EVs that don't have any kind of emissions just to get under a certain average car emissions rate or whatever, which hurts everybody. So anyway, there's just so much. I could go on and on and on about how wonderful this change is going to be. And but our time is up. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what you have to say on it and on this week's stories. Of course, you can always do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. Go to YouTube. Please like and share. That would be very helpful. And thank you for listening. This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.